Hello, everyone. I am looking out around the world looking for language partners. And so today we're talking about how we can find language partners from all around the world. I know most of you, I think the reason you're here is you're trying to learn English. For me, I've been trying to learn Spanish. So I'm going to talk about my experiences with finding language partners to practice speaking Spanish. And I would love to hear from all of you of how you have found language partners. If you have questions on how to find language partners, I'm going to talk about how I have found language partners from all around the Latin American countries and Spain and stuff. And I will talk about what apps I've used, which you can use to find people to speak English with. So one of my favorite apps is an app that if you looked at the thumbnail for it, it's called Hello Talk. And anyway, I'm going to try to get the picture of it so I can show you what it looks like. You can basically get it on your iPhone or your Android, which I am an Android person. And this is what it looks like. Let me see if I can get it. You can see the little symbol for it, Hello Talk. That's what it looks like. So you can basically just type in Hello Talk, and you can find people. I think you can put up to 3 languages that you're working on, and you can find people from all around the world that want to have language partners, and you can exchange text messages with them and voice messages. And a really cool thing about Hello Talk is that it actually has the ability to transcribe the messages. So you can, if you're not sure, if you listen to it, like for me, if I listen to somebody in Spanish and I'm not sure what they said, I can transcribe it. It is free. They do have a VIP version, but I think the free version is fine to start with. And then you can see whether or not you want to pay for the VIP version. And if you have seen my conversation with Alfonso, which was about a year ago, I met Alfonso from Hello Talk. And I've also met Helene, who has been in some of I've had a video with her, a conversation, Helene from Siberia, Russia. So I met a number of people that I've had conversations on this channel. So if you're just coming on, we're talking about finding language partners. So please let me know where you are coming from. Lewis, thank you so much for joining from Bogota, Colombia. Thank you. So let me know where you're coming from. Hit the like button and let me know if you've used some app, some website. One of the first places I went to find some language partners is something called penpalworld.com. And I actually found, I started becoming friends with Kenya from Mexico, and we ended up having a year-long kind of friendship where we would do video calls together. And then she invited me to Mexico. So I ended up making a really good friendship with her. And I went to Mexico and visited her there. So that was really an awesome experience. So I'd love to hear from you where you're coming from. If you have come from Hello Talk, if you're coming from what country, like Lewis is coming from Colombia. I think Vignesh is out there from India. And what kind of apps have you used? Have you found language partners? What has been your experience? Like for me, what I've done is I usually will say, let's talk for like 10 minutes. If I do a video call, I'll say, let's talk 10 minutes in English, and then let's talk 10 minutes in Spanish. Usually to get started out, I like to be sending text messages or voice messages back and forth and really trying to get to know a person before I start that video call, because I really like to know if we are going to have things to talk about. Do we have things in common? That's just me. I kind of like to have a longer conversation with somebody that I know that we have a good number of things to talk about. So I would love to hear. I think we have a few people now. I hope we're going to get more people, but I'd love to hear where you're coming from and have you found any language partners? If you've used Hello Talk, I know a number of people are coming from WhatsApp. If you've used WhatsApp groups to find language partners, what has been your experience? Have you set up Skype calls, Skype video calls, or Zoom? Now I think more people are using Zoom. What has been your experience with it? I have used a number of different things. Helena, thank you for joining from Siberia. Helena is coming from Hello Talk as well. And I met her through Hello Talk, and we actually did a video here on this channel. And she has met people, I think, from all over the world through Hello Talk. I think it's one of the best places to meet people that you're looking, because I think people are on Hello Talk because they're serious about learning a language. I don't get any money from Hello Talk, I'll tell you that, but I have been using it. I think I've been using Hello Talk for 3 or 4 years now, and really started using it pretty regularly, probably about right before the pandemic. And that's when I met, I think, Helena, I met Alfonso from Venezuela, and I met a lot of other people, but I have made some long lasting friendships. It does take time to make friendships, because at first it's like, hi, how are you? How's the weather? And it's really this like little kind of very simple conversations that you're having. And then you kind of get to know people, and you try to like ask them more questions, ask them what their hobbies are, and try to get an idea if you have things in common with them. So for me, I find I will respond to people that kind of, I know that they've looked at my profile, and pretty much told me like, oh, I really want to talk to you because you're interested in photography and I like photography too. Hello, Harold. Hola, buenos dias. Thank you for joining. Let me know where you're coming from, Harold, and where you found me. If you are in a WhatsApp group with me, if you're from Hello Talk, I'd love to know. Make sure, if you're new here, to hit the like button. We're talking about how we use, how we look for language partners. And I've had experiences, like I said, my first one was from Pen Pal World, which is free. There is like a paid version, but it's free. You can use it, and you can look for people and start to like send them messages all around the world. And I met somebody where I ended up making a long friendship, where we did some video calls for over a year, and I ended up visiting her in Mexico. Helena, English course, thank you so much for joining. Let me know where you're coming from. And do you use any sort of apps to find language partners? I really would love to know if we can share some other ideas. Like, I know I said Pen Pal World, Hello Talk is one of my favorites. And oh, you are from Indonesia. Thank you, from Bogar, Indonesia. I hope I'm saying that right. Let me know, Helena, what do you use to find language partners? It looks like you probably teach English as well. It says Helena English course. Do you use any sort of apps to find language partners? Let me just take a sip of water. I would love to have us all share where we have looked for those different apps where we have found language partners, and what our experience has been. I know Helena from Siberia has used Hello Talk, and I'm not sure if, Helena, if you used other sort of apps or the sort of websites to find language partners. I know if you just type in language exchange into Google, there's a lot of different websites that you can find. They usually have a free version, and then they will have a paid version as well. So Helena, English course, you are a teacher as well. Awesome, English teacher. Thank you so much for joining. So I am like I consider myself like an English tutor. I don't have a certification for teaching English, except that I'm a native speaker, but I'm also learning Spanish. So I thought this would be a great way to have a conversation and to learn from each other how we meet our language partners. And Moses is coming. I think Moses, are you from the WhatsApp group? I think coming from Uganda. Thank you for joining. I met Moses, I believe, in the WhatsApp group. Please remind me if that's correct. So I think Moses uses the WhatsApp group to find some language partners. And Harold, Harold, I'm not going to be able to translate everything. Vas a traducir todo por no entienda nada. Thank you for joining, Harold. Gracias por mirando esto, pero yo no puedo hablar más mucho en español, but pero gracias. I won't be able to translate everything, but thank you so much for joining me in this. I'm sorry that I'm not that fluent. I can understand Spanish. Yo entiendo mucho español, pero no puedo hablar mucho. And I have people from like all over the world, from Russia and from India, that would not understand. Yo tengo gente de todo el mundo y ellos no pueden entender español. Hello with AK. Thank you for joining again. So Harold, thank you. Try to understand. I'll try to speak slower. Sometimes I get speaking really fast when I'm doing the live because I'm trying to respond to everyone. So if you could put where you're coming from, if you could hit the like button, and if you could tell me if you have found different apps on your phone, apps on the computer to find language partners, and what your experience has been. Have you set up times to speak with them? I think one of the hardest things, the really hard thing for me, is to find times that, because of the whole world, and like right now it's 9 in the morning for me, and in India it's 6 p.m. I think, Helena, can you tell me, I believe it's really late at night for you in Siberia. So it's very difficult to arrange times to speak with people. And for that reason, for me, I really probably have arrange times to speak with people in Latin America and in Mexico because the time zones are very close. But if I was going to practice with somebody from Spain, it's much more difficult because of the time difference from here where I'm at and from Spain. So I think that's a really difficult thing. I know I've had a lot of conversations with people in India, and usually this is a good time because I believe in India it is 6:30 ish, I think. Helena says, I've been using Hello Talk for about 4 years and Tandem for about 6 months. And I speak with people from all around the world daily. I'm going to have to look up that Tandem. In fact, I'm going to write that down. I think you told me that yesterday and I forgot that Tandem. So I'm going to write that down on my notes. So I can look that up because I'm definitely going to look up that for sure. So everyone, make sure that you write that down or look it up in your phone right now. Look up Tandem, because I think Helena says that's been good for her to find people, and that she talks with people every day around the world daily. So that's awesome. And like I said, Hello Talk. I know that I've used Pen Pal World, where really you usually can contact 3 people a day for free and write to them. You can look for people in different countries. You can look for people by different ages and so on, similar to Hello Talk and stuff. And you can start to send them a message and then check back to see if they answered you. I like Hello Talk a little bit better than that because people on Hello Talk are looking for that language exchange, while Pen Pal World is really about people that might be just there to really want to just make friends with people around the world, which is great. And Harold, I'm sorry if I'm speaking too fast again. I can start to get a little fast sometimes. But I think that Hello Talk is better for finding people that are looking for that language exchange. And now Tandem, I'm going to definitely look that up today. So if you are new, please hit the like button and please let me know. Tell me what kinds of apps you use for finding people around the world to speak with. If you could let me know, have you set up times to speak with them on Skype? Do you prefer using Skype? Helena says, before making friends, I try to post something interesting and photos about Siberian life, nature, traditions, trips, and how to learn English. Yes, I think that's what I like about Hello Talk is it has something called moments that you can do that. You can put some pictures, you can put interesting facts, you can put what you found helpful for learning English, and hopefully you get people that contact you and kind of follow you, and that you can kind of like make some friends that way as well. And I do the same in Hello Talk. English with AK says, I have talked with people from across the globe. I believe you need the enthusiasm and determination to learn a language. Yes, we spoke about that yesterday for sure. So I tried to kind of like convince and almost force my daughter, who's now 11, to learn Spanish. And you really do need that enthusiasm, that motivation internal inside of you to want to learn a language. I definitely agree with that. But I think one motivation can definitely be to be able to make friends with people around the world. I have actually really enjoyed learning, especially from Helena, about Siberia, which I thought was just this place that was super cold, but it's beautiful there. They have like big seas and they have all this beautiful nature. And Helena has shared so many beautiful pictures and shared with me that it's a super huge place, actually, bigger than the United States. So it was really awesome to learn that from Helena. I also learned from my friend Alfonso, who I met from Hello Talk and is one of the first conversations I have on this channel. Alfonso's from Venezuela, and I learned a lot about life in Venezuela from Alfonso. Harold, when the speaker talks fast, I don't understand them. That's okay, Harold. I do have other videos that are for more beginners, so I'm sorry if it's too fast. Lo siento si yo hablo más rápido hoy. English with AK says, I love making friends, and I have friends in more than 35 countries. Wow. That's interesting. I should try to think about how many countries I met people from. It's very interesting. I'm wanting actually to make conversations with people from more countries. I know I've had conversations on the channel, a lot of them with India, people from India, people from South American countries. I am hoping to schedule one with somebody from Vietnam soon. And I'm very interested to talking with people from more countries. Definitely, I enjoy every conversation I have had, but I would love to speak to have conversations with people from more countries. So that's awesome that you have spoken to people from more than 35 countries. That is really cool. So English with AK, what do you use to try to find those people that you have spoken to? Do you have them just finding you through your YouTube channel, or do you use an app to find the people that you are speaking with and making friends with? Is there certain apps that you use? We learned about Tandem from Helena, and English with Lila. Thank you for joining from India. I've met English with Lila, had a couple conversations on this channel with him, and I met him through WhatsApp groups. So that is another place to find some friends, to look for some friends, to look for some whether you're focusing, hopefully everyone here is focusing on English, join some groups that are for learning English, and you can find some friends that way. And I kind of like to start a conversation texting and video texting and voice notes, and try to get to know a person before I will schedule that video call with them, because I want to get to know if I'm going to have a lot in common to talk with them. If you are just joining, please hit the like button, and please let me know where you're from. Let me know what you use. So English with Lila, what do you use to find people? The topic today is finding language partners. I know that we met through WhatsApp, but are there other ways? Are there other ways that you use to find people to speak with, to learn English? I know I've shared that I use Hello Talk. Helena has used Tandem. I use Pen Pal World to find some language partners. I have found some partners from Facebook groups. There's a lot of groups on Facebook that you can use to find people to speak with. But what have you used besides? I know that English with Lila, Lila, you have used obviously WhatsApp, because that's where we met. But what have you used to find your language partners? I know that you have conversations on your channel, English with Lila. If you're interested in more conversations, English with Lila has a lot of those conversations on his channel. So I wonder what you have used to find those language partners. Generally, people think that iPhones are more secure than Android. Is that a fact? Okay, so I did post a question this morning on Lila's group of are you an Apple person or an Android? And I would say Apple's probably more secure. Today, the topic for this live is not Apple or Android, but if you want to put your opinion on that, please put it in the chat. I'm an Android person, any case. But today we're talking about, right now in this live, we're talking about finding language partners. And English with AK says, I have used almost every social media, including HelloTalk, Tandem, Skype, WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, Hangouts, and other platforms. That's cool. So how do you use Hangouts, Google Hangouts? How to use that, I wonder, to find. I'm not super familiar with Hangouts. I've used them a couple times to um, have a conversation with somebody online that I'm already connected with in Google, but I wonder how you use that for to find people to speak with, and if there are other platforms that you have that you can recommend. Um, Facebook groups, I have found some people. I had a conversation with somebody that is from Syria, Mel, English with Mel ESL. He has a YouTube channel, and Mel I met through Facebook groups. So, and you said that you use Hangouts. I wonder how you use Hangouts to find people. That would be, I'm not like super familiar with Google Hangouts. So if you're just joining, we are talking about finding language partners and how we find them after we have found our language partners. How do you like build up that friendship? How do you practice? Do you start out by exchanging text messages, voice messages? One thing I like that I like about Hello Talk is that if you get a voice message and you don't understand it, it has the ability to translate it to translate it, but also to transcribe it. I think with the free version, you might get maybe you get a few transcriptions a day. Moses says, I would like to know which way social media is nice to learn. So how do we learn from social media? So I have really just used Facebook for learning a language, which for me is Spanish. And there's lots and lots of groups out there where people exchange, maybe they exchange different language learning tips. They exchange voice messages. They get to know each other. I haven't used it a lot, though. I'm kind of like moving away from using Facebook a lot lately. But that's what I used. I made a couple friends, like I mentioned, Mel from Syria, who has a YouTube channel. But I have found looking for groups has been the best way to find people, to make friends, to find language partners is through groups. They have lots of English learning groups, many of them. So that could definitely be one. I'm not sure how you use other ones. I know that you could use other ones, but I haven't used things like, I would say, Instagram or Twitter. I think Twitter. I'm not a Twitter expert or an Instagram expert. Lewis says, I was trying to find people to practice English and help with Spanish and Hello Talk. So I think Hello Talk is a great way to find people. You can choose 3 languages that you want to focus on. You can look for them by country. You can look for people, like if you want to focus on a certain age group, like, if you want to look for people between like 30 and 50 years old or whatever the age group you want to look for. So you can kind of like filter when you're looking for people. Helena has mentioned putting things on the Hello Talks moments and using that. You can kind of like put that you're looking for somebody, or sometimes like sharing things about your day, and then maybe people start a conversation with you. Helena English course, I'm going to say Elena from Siberia and Helena English course. She says, I think Facebook groups also are good to find partners. Then we can create English WhatsApp groups and share um, and share the links there. So we have English speaking partners in our WhatsApp group. Yeah, that's an awesome idea. Like people have asked me to kind of start WhatsApp groups, and right now I haven't really started any, except I help English with Lila with one of his, because it's just a lot for to administer one of those and really kind of vet the people that you invite. But that's an awesome idea to kind of find people and then maybe invite the people that you think would be a good member for your WhatsApp group for sure. Because I think WhatsApp groups are a little bit better at having that kind of one-on-one conversations, or those sending voice messages and text messages on the WhatsApp groups. Lila says, what are the best apps to improve our speaking fluency and we'll be able to speak like you? One thing that I like, actually, it doesn't have anything to do with finding language partners, but I don't know if anybody's heard about the language. I think it's called, let me look for it. It's this really awesome program. And what is it called? It's called Language Transfer. This guy, I think he's from Turkey. I'm not exactly sure, but he's like a polyglot, and he has created all these different courses, English to Spanish, English to Arabic, English to Turkish, English to German, English to Greek, English to Italian, English to Swahili, English to French, and Inglés to Espanol. And I think it's a really good one to kind of learn, especially if you want to learn like the where different things are coming from the language, I think. So I would suggest that one because you can listen to it as a podcast and stuff, and kind of listen to podcasts as well. Really kind of focus on listening. I always talk about that, focusing on listening to develop your ear for the language. So Helena says, I have noticed that Indian people are very active on Hello Talk. And I have two very good friends from India, and we've been friends for 3 years already. We exchange cultures, pictures, and news. You're right. I think one of the reasons is that there's so many people from India. If you notice on my channel, I have so many conversations with people from India. And at first I was like, why are so many people following me from India? And I think, well, it's because they are one of the country with the most people, or the second most people in the world. And there's so many people in India that are working on improving their English language. So yes, I've made some really good friends with people from India. If you're new here, please hit the like button. And the conversation is talking about finding your language partners. English with AK says back and forth communication will help you to build a healthy relationship with your speaking partner. That's absolutely it. You hit the nail on that, because I think for all of us, like knowing that we are going to have a conversation, that we have something in common with that person, and that it's a healthy relationship, by kind of building that first, by exchanging that back and forth communication via text messages, via voice messages on WhatsApp and Hello Talk, you can do that, and really kind of building that up before you kind of set up a video call. Giselle, thank you for joining. Let me know where you're coming from. I have a Zoom meeting for 1 hour on Wednesday to Sunday with a course called Deep English. And it's interesting because we have weak subjects to talk about. That's awesome. Actually, I just joined a group, and it's being run by Brandon from Peru. I'm not sure if he's able to join today, but he runs Zoom. No, they're like Google Meets 5 days a week, and he teaches Italian and English. He has a whole bunch of people from Latin America. I don't know how he gets the energy to do that, but he does 5 days a week. He's got people from Spain. Hello, Isabel from Spain. Thank you for joining. I believe, Isabel, we met on WhatsApp. Let me know if that's correct. So Brandon from Peru is kind of doing the same thing as you're doing, Giselle, and kind of running all of these Monday through Friday, 1 hour of Italian, 1 hour of English. And I joined 2 of his classes this week, and it was so much fun. Okay, Giselle, you're from Brazil. Thank you for joining. So that's awesome that you're doing that. I think that's a great way. I had an awesome time joining Brandon's classes that he runs. And I just met a whole bunch of cool people that I'm hoping that I can set up friendships with to do language exchange. So that's awesome that you're doing that, Giselle. And that's a great way to kind of also get to know some people. Um, so Lila is going to share. I'm going to show his group if you want to join his group on WhatsApp. He has an awesome group to join, and I help him when I can on that. So he does, I believe that Lila does some, like maybe every week he does Zoom conversations, which we were hoping to do one together, ended up getting canceled because of conflict of timing. But he does Zoom conversations with people, and he does one-on-one conversations with people on the YouTube channel as well. Isabel says, what kind of course is Deep English? So that question, I think, is for Giselle. If you can let Isabel know what that course is, because she's interested. So I know I just joined this one that Brandon from Peru is doing, and it was a lot of fun. In fact, last night it was karaoke night, and we were like singing different songs. I sang Billy Joel, We Didn't Start the Fire. So that was a lot of fun as a way to kind of learn English and to make some friends. Like, I just found out that one of his students is in Boston, right here in Massachusetts with me, studying English. So that was really cool. So if you're just joining, please hit the like button. Let me know where you're coming from. And the conversation is about how do we find language partners from like around the world. I know all of you are here to learn English, and I'm still trying to learn Spanish, like with Harold. I've been trying to learn. Harold is coming here and speaking Spanish. And Lewis, I think Lewis, remind me, are you coming from WhatsApp? I'm trying to learn Spanish. I know that Harold is working on English. Lewis is working on English from Latin American countries, I believe, and Isabel as well. Let me know where you're looking to find language partners. I met a number of you on WhatsApp. I've met some other of you from Hello Talk. I've talked about Pen Pal World, where I met a very good friend named Kenya from Mexico, and I made a really great friendship and actually went to visit her I went to visit her at the end of 2017 and spent New Year's in Acapulco, and then spent some time with her in Mexico City, and that was an awesome time. Let me just get a sip of water. Thank you. So if you are just joining, I'd love to know, what you're using. Helena has said that she's used Tandem. I know that we have heard that there are some other like Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, and the great idea of kind of building that relationship. I usually like to build a relationship. I will ask people to do video calls with me or video conversations that will go on YouTube, but I really like to get to know people first. A number of people will write to me and say, I want to have a conversation with you. But first, for me, I want to know that we have something in common, with that the conversation will be interesting, that we both will enjoy speaking to each other. So I like to exchange voice notes, text notes. I like to especially exchange voice notes, so I know that I can understand somebody in case I'm going to make have a video conversation with somebody. I want to know that I can understand that person, and make sure that they're at the level that I can understand, right? And that we have things in common. Like, do we have photography in common? Do we have maybe we both are really into nature. Like, I know I love going out for hikes and I love camping. Do we have a lot of things to talk about? So that's how I build up my friendships. I know that Helena says that she likes to post different things about nature and about life in Siberia, and news articles and helpful things for learning English, as a way to also find friends on different apps like Tandem and Hello Talk. But I really would love to hear from all of you what you have used. I know Isabel's coming from WhatsApp, and English with Lila is coming from WhatsApp. But what have you used to make friendships? English with Lila says, how to ask a partner for doing for having a conversation. So that's a really good question. And Habab is coming from Pakistan. Thank you for joining. If you're just joining, please hit the like button. And the conversation is all about finding language partners. And English with Lila, that's a really good question, because when someone just asks me to have a conversation, I really want to know more about them and really want to start a kind of conversation through text or email before I make that commitment to have a video conversation, because I want to make sure that we have things in common that we can talk about. I know English with Lila, when you had asked me, we had a conversation first. We had a back and forth on WhatsApp to kind of get to know each other before we had those video conversations. And I think we had a really good idea that we had things in common to talk about. Helena has saying the main thing is making language partners and friends is being polite, respectful, don't ask private questions, and be a serious learner. I agree. Absolutely. Helena, absolutely. Is being polite, being respectful, not asking those private questions, because I think that's obviously we shouldn't be prying into people's private lives, and being serious about the fact that you want to learn. Habib says learning English by speaking to English subscribers. So that's awesome. So I think a lot of people like English with Lila and a number of other people make conversation videos that they post on YouTube, as I do as well. And that's an awesome way to actually be able to get to know people from around the world. If you are doing that on YouTube, which I know some of us are that are on this call or this YouTube live, it's not really a call. Giselle says the course, you have a lot of material already in the week, and you talk in Zoom meetings. Okay, so that's that deep English that you're talking about. Okay, that's awesome. And Helena English course says, I have English WhatsApp groups with many participants from many countries around the world. So some other participants from English speaking countries can either help other members. And so that's awesome. So that's what I do in a number of groups. I know I'm in the group with Lila, and I think it's really helpful to have native speakers in the group. I know I help out in a number of different groups on WhatsApp, to be that native speaker, to be someone that can listen to people's pronunciations and give them feedback, to answer questions if they have certain questions about meanings of words or expressions. So I think that's awesome. So any case, that's an awesome way to do that. If you want to share your WhatsApp links, it's up to you. You can share it. I will allow that to happen. But I think we always want to be very careful and mindful about sharing them in a public place, because this will be something that people can see, and you might get people joining your WhatsApp groups that you don't want. So there might be a different way to maybe email me, and I can kind of send that out to people on a case-by-case basis. Just me, like if I was going to administer a group, I would want to be very mindful of the people that are joining and wanting to make sure that not anyone just watching this later would be able to join. Okay, so if you're new here, please hit the like button. And we're talking about ways to join, ways to find, I'm sorry, talking for 38 minutes straight. Sorry about that. Ways to find language partners, specifically English language partners, because this is an English language learning channel. And how do we find that? I know that we've learned many different apps that we can look for. I know if you just type into Google, language exchange, language partners, English language partners, you'll get a bunch of things. And I've used a number of those. They usually have a free option, and they usually have a paid version. I found many of them that the free option is just fine. One of them, I don't remember, but it was $5 that you could have unlimited messages for the month. And I actually found that to be helpful. And I just paid for 1 month and kind of did some language exchanges. And then I didn't continue that. Hello Talk has a free option, and I think that's just fine. I ended up paying for the paid option, but the free option is fine. You can look on Hello Talk and see what you get with the paid option. But I think the free option for these are just fine to start with. Tandem, spelled Tandem, is one that Helena from Siberia has shared twice, and I'm going to look that up later. I'm not sure the ins and outs of that, but I think if Helena is suggesting it, that it must be a really good one. I met Helena through Hello Talk, and I would think anything she's suggesting, please look that up. It would probably be a good suggestion. So I'm looking to hear from all of you what you have used, what you have done to kind of like get to know people. Isabel says, I totally agree with you. I need to know if a person has something in common with me and get to know that person before starting a conversation with somebody. And it's not easy. And it's not easy. It's not as easy as we think. Absolutely. And Dream English is just joined. Thank you. Let me know where you're coming from, Dream English. And please hit the like if you're just joining. So I totally agree. I have a number of people that just want to start that video conversation, or people that just call me on WhatsApp. Okay, I'm not going to take calls, either voice calls or video calls, from people I don't know. I want to get to know somebody first before I'm going to have a voice call or a video call. And I get so many people that are calling me. I think get to know somebody first. Send them a message of why you want to talk to them, or get to know them back and forth, text messaging to get to know and share what are your hobbies. Just kind of like have that conversation first. And it is difficult because I'll find that I'll start a conversation with somebody and you have, okay, how are you? How's the weather? What are your hobbies? And then people stop and they go silent. And so I'll continue to start that conversation, but I never hear from them again. So it takes a while, and you'll find not everyone that you're contacting or that is contacting you is serious about having those conversations, about being a language partner, or maybe they just don't have the time. I think that's one thing about Hello Talk, is that with the paid version, I think you can have more things, like maybe you can have more conversations, or it keeps your conversations, like if you have a conversation with somebody more than a couple months ago, it disappears in the non-paid version. So if I want to go back and try to contact somebody I haven't spoken to for a while, then if I don't have that paid version, then I wouldn't be able to do that. And I find it's really difficult to kind of get those good conversations going. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes finding the right person. So Isabel, you make a really good point there. Let me just take a sip of water. I think I've told people before, I work in a school, but I'm not a teacher in the school. I'm a guidance counselor. So I do find that speaking and talking for 1 hour straight is difficult. So hello, Wilson. I believe that you are coming from Hello Talk. Thank you for joining. I think the other day, if anybody joined for the conversation with Sam, that was a lot better for me because Sam did a lot of the talking. And like I said, talking for 1 hour straight, start to need a little bit of water. So, all right. So English with Lila says, will it be possible to speak like you randomly by practice? If so, how long should we practice? Should we practice? So I think, Lila, I think we were talking about doing like a Zoom conversation with a number of speakers, and we can definitely plan that. I have to look on my calendar and see when I can do that. Isabel is asking if that course is free. So I think that was Giselle that was saying that she had that course, or she takes part in the course. So I think it's something I'm thinking about doing myself, but it's really hard to kind of coordinate. I think that's why, Lila, I've asked you to coordinate, like find some English speakers that you have vetted and think would be good for the conversation, and to kind of coordinate the time, because I work full time and that's hard for me. But I would love to do something like I did with Sam and invite more people onto that Zoom call and have a conversation. But it's just something I have not been able to do yet. Hibab, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right. I can speak English too. Helena is saying, mainly I use texting and video calls and really seldom do video calls just with old friends and language partners. Sometimes it's really hard to connect because of the time zone. And that's what we found. Helena and I convinced her because I really, really wanted to have a conversation for the YouTube channel and learn more about Siberia. And I convinced her to do that. But it was difficult to do that because our time zones are very different. I think it might be the middle of the night for you there. So that is a hard thing to do because of the time zones. Giselle. Okay, so any case, she's sharing that information. That's awesome about the private course. So I think it's awesome if you have that chance to kind of do some texting, some voice calls. What I have done is do texting at first and then start doing some voice text messaging because I can then get a chance to understand people and listen to them and see if I can understand them, and then give them a voice message back and start that conversation and really get to know them. So if you're just joining, please hit the like button. And the conversation is about finding language partners and the different ways that we do that. I mean, some of the language partners I found were through courses, like Giselle is mentioning a private course. I took a course it was through Spanish Land School with Andrea from Colombia. And I found some language partners through her course. It was a private course that I had to pay to take, but it was a great way to find people that are serious about learning. Of course, they were people that were English as their first language, learning Spanish. So for me, I really want to focus on finding people that are native Spanish speakers because I'm going to learn a better pronunciation from them. So I think you can find people from your language courses, but I think you're going to find in the language course that there are a lot of people that are not native English speakers. And so it might not be the best people to learn pronunciation from, but you will find that there are very serious people about learning the language, and they might be a good place to start because you're both learning and you don't have to be afraid of making mistakes with people that are learning. And that's another thing I think about finding language partners. For me, I can practice Spanish with people that I work with, but I'm a little bit afraid to speak with them because maybe I'm a little embarrassed if I make mistakes. But if I find someone on the internet, I find somebody through Hello Talk, so they're learning English and I'm learning Spanish, so we can speak to each other and not be afraid of making mistakes. And I kind of feel like I'm a little bit more comfortable with speaking with somebody that I'm not working with every day. But if I wanted to in the US, I definitely can find language partners right here because we have people from all over the world. But like I said, I feel like it's a little bit more comfortable to have those conversations with people that, for me anyway, that are also learning another language. So English with Lila says, can you share a few tips on how you're learning Spanish and to speak with them? So, I mean, for me, I've mentioned this a number of times and I'll mention it again. I found with learning Spanish that focusing on grammar wasn't working for me. I would try to memorize all these grammar rules and I never got any better, but I learned this thing called comprehensible input method, which is what my whole channel is based on. And what does that mean? It means learning from listening, learning from like watching videos and being able to see people's lips moving, be able to see their hands moving, being able to turn on the subtitles so I can read along with those videos, and really developing an ear and listening to native speakers. So for Spanish, I listen to people like Pablo from Dreaming Spanish. I listen to, I think it's Professor Juan. I listen to Lucito Cominico, and he's from Mexico. He's not really a teacher, but he goes all around the world, including to your country of India. And I listen to them. I can see his mouth all the time, and he speaks really clear Spanish. So that's how I learn. And I think when you are listening to native speakers, you're going to learn proper pronunciation. And I try to listen to people from a variety of countries. I have a language partner from Venezuela. I have a language partner from Mexico. I follow people from Spain, and I've become some friends with some people from Spain. I believe Lewis, that has been in this chat, I believe is from Hello Talk, that I met from Spain. And I know I've met a number of other people in other groups. And I try to learn all different accents so that way I can be familiar. Giselle says, I am learning Spanish too, but I'm not ready to find people to talk to. I'm learning from YouTube videos and podcasts. And I feel the same way as you, Giselle, I'm starting just a little bit with Italian, but I'm not ready to start speaking Italian to people. I know I spoke about Brandon from a WhatsApp group that's teaching both Italian and English, and I'm not ready yet to speak Italian. I'm just at the very beginning there. But for Spanish, I am ready. I finally feel like I'm ready to speak Spanish to people. So I have looked for people on Hello Talk to speak Spanish to. I looked for people on Pen Pal World. I looked for people in Facebook groups. But with the Italian that I'm just starting, it's really listening to the YouTube, the podcast, and watching the YouTube videos with subtitles on. Believe it or not, YouTube auto-generated subtitles are pretty good. Giselle says, for Spanish, I have the podcast Unlimited Spanish, and it's speaking training with questions and answers. There are I can recommend tons of things for Spanish. I listened to, I think I said, the language transfer, which I think is really cool on learning, not just about learning to speak Spanish, but also learning about all the history and where the different words have come from and stuff. But I listened to, I would suggest the Dreaming Spanish, because he's teaching in a way that I'm doing with the comprehensible input method. And Wilson says that he can help you, Giselle. Wilson, I believe, if you can remind me where you're coming from, I know we met on Hello Talk. Definitely. Helena says, I could find a lot of language partners in Spanish, mainly from Latin America, though they are really decent and cheerful. Yes, absolutely. I found a lot of people from Latin America, some from Spain. And Hello Talk is a great resource to find people from Spanish speakers that want to practice with you. I've just found 2 people recently. I think Lewis, and I found someone else, Valentine, recently. And I have also found Alfonso, which I was hoping he would join. I made a video with him a year ago. So Alfonso, if you listen later, we need to make another video. But Alfonso from Venezuela, I met on Hello Talk. And you can find a lot of people, Pen Pal World. There's a lot of people there. If you look, search by Colombia, search by Venezuela, search by whatever country, and you can read their profile and see if they're looking for that language exchange. There's a lot of people on Hello Talk, and I mean Pen Pal World, that are also looking for that language exchange. So absolutely, those are great ways. I think the Hello Talk, I would say, would be one of the best ones. And I'm going to try out this Tandem and see what that's like. I've also know that English with Lila uses Telegram. I haven't really used that, but I think there's lots of groups there that I think it's very similar to WhatsApp. But I haven't really gotten into that because there's only so much time in the day. But I think you can use Telegram as well to join groups and find some language partners. Maybe Lila, if you're still with us, you can speak to how you use Telegram, because I know that Lila has invited me to join a group or two on Telegram. So if you are new joining, hit the like button and let me know where you're coming from. I'm going to speak for about 6 more minutes. And the topic is looking for language partners all around the world. I wore my world shirt today. Finding language partners. And, how do you get to know your language partner? How do you, once you get to know your partner, what do? Do you set up a Skype call with them? Do you just do a video call? Like you can do your video calls right through WhatsApp. I know when I met Kenya from Pen Pal World, we used Google Messenger, because you could do the video calls in Google Messenger. And that's what we used to get to know each other. Um, so what do you use? How do you get to know people? I definitely learned a lot from all of you today. I've been taking some notes on my paper. I've learned a lot of ideas of different places I can look because I'm still looking for people. I'm looking for people that I can practice Spanish with. I know I found a number of you, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you, but I'm always looking for more people. And I'm looking for people that are not just in Spanish speaking countries because I want to have conversations for the YouTube channel with people from all over the world. I want to be like somebody, I'm not sure which person had said they have friends in 35 countries. Well, I want to have friends in 35 countries. And that will be more than just those Latin American and Spanish speaking countries. English with Lila says, I've seen so many English learners are judging to others on how they're speaking, and they're also realizing their English is not strong. So judging to others is easy, but speaking is too hard. So I think, I think one thing that I heard that too, that other English learners will kind of like say, oh, you're not saying that right. I think is a disservice. If someone's actually asking for feedback from a native speaker on their pronunciation, that's fine. But if you're learning English and you are not a native speaker and you're telling someone else, oh, you know what, you said that really poorly, your pronunciation is not very good, like you're just demotivating a person. And I think that's a disservice. I think I found, like, when I was working with like different tutors, if I did these reading exercises and if the person was constantly interrupting me to say, you pronounce that wrong, you pronounce that wrong, it really demotivated me. So I think instead to kind of work on listening to someone, and if you are looking for feedback on pronunciation, that's fine. But if you're just sharing in an English group and people are like criticizing and judging you, then maybe you're not in the right English group. I think people should be very supportive to each other on their learning and on their language learning journey. And if you're in a group or if you're exchanging calls and voice texts with somebody and they're judging you and not being supportive, then maybe that's not the right person for you. Isabel says, I know I'm eager to talk with you. Yes, absolutely. We definitely should set up a time to speak to each other, Isabel. And I have a Wayne that just joined and he's looking for English speaking partners. And let me know where you're coming from. We also have a Choco and he's from the WhatsApp group. So let me know, both of you, where you're from and hit the like button. We're talking about finding language partners. So you came to the right um, you came to the right live stream. We've been exchanging lots of different ideas to find, from Hello Talk, Tandem, WhatsApp groups, Telegram. I know Lila uses Telegram, Facebook groups, Pen Pal World. I've used that to find language partners as well. So you come to the right place. Giselle says she found a book in audio American accent training, and it's very useful for improving my pronunciation. That's awesome. I would also say, you know what I found that was really good when I learned Spanish, and I imagine that they have the same thing for English, is Pimsleur. If you ever are able to get Pimsleur, I think they have a really good way of like learning that pronunciation and kind of starting from the very basics, and that just like listen and repeat, listen and repeat. I used Pimsleur Spanish, and I know that they make it in many different languages. So I imagine whatever your native language is, they have that Pimsleur program. And Wayne is from Africa, but I don't have you in any WhatsApp links. So Wayne, thank you for joining from Africa. That is awesome. So I think you can look for WhatsApp groups on the internet. I found a number from the internet, and then after I kind of got to know people in a WhatsApp group, like I know Lila invited me to join his, and so Giselle shared the link of the book. So absolutely, I think after the conversation is over, which I'll talk for a few more minutes because a couple of you just joined, but use this comment section to exchange all kinds of information, and to share more, like any ideas that you have for finding language partners. There's so much. Like when I was learning Spanish, like when I first started in high school and in college, it was before the internet, right? And all I had was my book, right? My book. And sometimes I'd go to the library and I would get cassettes or CDs to listen to. And that was it. But now we have the internet and we can find people like Wayne from Africa. I know I've had a number of people. I have Helena from Siberia. I can find people all over the world, right? To exchange conversations and to make friends. So I am hoping that I will be able to say, I know people from 35 countries. I have friends from 35 or more countries. I'm hoping that will be me soon. And so, absolutely, thank you all for sharing. And like I said, I think the biggest things, takeaways were Hello Talk that I absolutely love, Tandem, WhatsApp groups, Pen Pal World. I made a very good friend from Pen Pal World where I went to go to Mexico after exchanging video calls with her for over a year, which I used Facebook. Facebook groups, I made a good friend from Syria, and we made a video on this channel. You can check that out later. So you can find people in so many different sources, so many different ways. It's so amazing that we can find people all around the world and for free, because basically we just need to have our phone or our computer and find people all over the world. I'm so happy all of you have joined. Some of you I've met through WhatsApp, some through Hello Talk, and some through other Facebook groups. And I just really enjoy this conversation. So thank you so much for joining. And be sure, like I will say again, I said before, I do take suggestions. I think I did put a poll up for people to vote on the next topic. And I think right now talking about books is winning. But if you have topics you think you'd like me to talk about, please let me know in the comments. Thank you, Giselle. Giselle says, you have been doing a very good work for all of us. Thank you. And Helena says, I appreciate your help with me. Dear Rochelle, God bless you and your family. Thank you, Helena. Thank you all so much for joining. If you know of other people that are learning English, please share this channel with them. Please hit the like button. Please put comments. I really want to help people from all around the world. So please spread the word. Thank you so much. And until next time.